Proverbs 21:13. Whoever shuts his ears to the cry of the poor will also cry himself and not be heard. Imagine if you were in that situation. This is how I think about it for me. You might be too holy. Some of y'all out there might be too holy and too humble, but I'll keep it real. If something was to happen to me, I would wish that the body of Messiah would raise hell, that they would be so loud. Courts would be, I hope rallies and protests happen if something unjust was to happen to me. I would hope that my people would stand up for me. What a shame if the body does not do that. But for those of you who act this way towards people like George Floyd, somebody who was murdered, a girl who was a police officer went into their house and was shot by a white police officer. A black girl was shot by a white police officer. Breonna Taylor, okay? She had nothing to do. She had nothing to do with the situation. All right. We could talk about abortion as well. I'm talking about all issues of injustice. All of them today. I'm addressing everything today. I'm not on Black Lives Matter only, racial inequality. I'm about all types of injustices. And so you can't say you can't believe in one without the other, because Yahuwah's heart is in both. The murdering of black babies, Planned Parenthood, was started by a white supremacist woman who consulted with KKK members. And in her autobiography, she considered black people as endangerment to the beautiful flowers that exist in America, talking about the white community. And it was a plan of eugenics to depopulate the black population. And it has been very successful. About 900 babies a day are murdered who aren't even born. And now in New York City, they're allowing abortions at 9 months. Full term babies, full term abortions. And where are these Planned Parenthoods predominantly planted? Within minority communities, where predominantly the minority communities are usually African American and Hispanics. So, I mean, we could talk about all issues of injustice. We could talk about human trafficking. We can talk about all types of stuff. The point is, what does the scripture say is our duty and our responsibility and our response to these issues? Are we to shrug our shoulders, put our heads in the sand, close our eyes and say this stuff doesn't exist? Or are we to embrace? It really does bother me that people say racism, systematic racism doesn't exist today. I think they're living in a whole nother world. And I believe they are brainwashed by a political party called the Republican Party or conservatives who push this agenda. If an injustice goes public and becomes viral, it is our duty to respond in the spirit of righteousness, according to Proverbs 29, verse 7, to show concern for it. We should be the voice for the voiceless. It begins with you, your heart and your mind lining up with the heart of Yahuwah on this matter. Then it is to overflow into your conversation with friends and family, both privately and publicly. There are many ways to advocate for justice, and one way is to speak up and let your voice be heard. You can do this by writing letters, social media posts, making signs and displaying it in public, marching, solemn assemblies, rallies, and public protests. There are many ways that you can let your voice be heard and be an advocate for justice and protest against injustice. Let's continue. Proverbs 27, verse 5. An open rebuke is better than hidden love. I'll tell you right now, this is very relevant to this subject. This is very relevant to this subject. You could say you love Yahuwah and Yahusha all you want. You can worship him and cry and have very emotional encounters through your prayer and worship time with Yahuwah. But when it comes to matters like this of injustice and cruelty and wickedness, and you have nothing to say, nor do you desire to say anything, I'm sorry, but you're operating in wickedness, and you're operating in hidden love. You have hidden love. You're like a light that is hidden under a hill. I believe the scripture talks about. You're supposed to be shining so the world can see. And not just your lovey-dovey side, but people should be seeing your anger for injustice. Now let's go into more scriptures. I'm going to give my wife a chance to jump in and give some of her notes, and then I'll come back to my notes.